So the 5 steps that I use are number one, I call it know the conditions on the battlefield. That's a military reference, but it has to do with when you're setting out to create change, you need to give your brain something to look for, something to latch onto. So you really need to be able to assess what are the things where I tend to have these hangups? What are those triggers? What are the circumstances, right, where I do for my clients start spinning out into overwork, start really stressing, really start feeling overwhelmed, right? What are those things? You know that in advance. The next one is to catch it while it's happening. And this is the hardest of all because usually you don't realize you're in a stress response until after the fact. And then you're like, whew, I was really stressed out. You don't realize that until after you've gone for the run or had the yoga class or whatever your thing is, had a beer, right? And so what you need to do is keep telling your brain, I'm looking for that. Sometimes it takes saying every hour, I'm going to stop, maybe just for a few days, but I'm going to stop and I'm going to review. What was it that happened in this hour that made me start feeling so stressed or made me start repeating these patterns, whatever they might be in my life, that I know are not helpful? Maybe it's picking up the cookie and eating, right? It could be anything. Once you can catch yourself, that means you're onto something. Your brain is already making change in that moment. You need to celebrate that as a win. Most people don't do that, right? They catch themselves doing something that's unhelpful and they shame themselves, right? They say, there I go again.
Right.
But if you can know your conditions on the battlefield, then catch it when it's happening, then the next thing is a pattern interrupt.
Mm.
I always tell my clients, stimulus in, and then there's a response in the brain, right? And it's like there's a pathway. These neurons fire over here, and then these fire in response over there. But if we can interrupt that pattern and we can start telling our brain, hey, when this stimulus happens, instead of these neurons firing, I want you to fire these instead.
Mm.
That's when change happens. And the more that we can involve our entire brain in the process, all the different parts, the seeing, the sensing, the visioning, the logic, right, the mindset, the better. So you need a pattern interrupt. You need something that breaks that cycle. That could be as simple as having a rubber band on your wrist and you snap it every time this same stimulus comes in, the same thing that used to trigger you.